Welcome back to Builds Not Projects. In today's video I'm going to be working on the Odyssey build. I am going to be working on shift linkage and the fuel tank, as well as welding all of the frame that has been built so far that's just tacked together. All that's going to be getting welded solid. I'm going to start working on clutch and throttle cables, as well as figuring out how I'm going to hook up brakes. So all of that will be in this video. Hopefully by the end of this video there will be a good first startup and maybe see if I can get it to drive around or not. Okay, so I've been working on the brake lines here, trying to get the brakes plumbed in, and I have a slight issue. So these are a 10 millimeter M10 by 1 brake line, and so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get them hooked up to the calipers, because these are also a 10 by 1 fitting. But the problem I'm having is that the nut portion of this fitting is not, there's not enough threads on it for these fittings. They run out of room, they run out of length, so like these have kind of a shoulder on them at the bottom, so when you put them all the way in, it only grabs the first like 2 threads. So what I'm going to do to fix that problem is, here's the fitting out of the other one. I got some 10 by 1 nuts, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld these on just like that. I'll thread a bolt or a fitting into them, and I'll weld them together. That way give me the extra threads I need for the brake lines to go in. So we'll get started welding those together, and then I'll keep building brake lines. Okay, so this is what I got made up here. What I did is I just welded that nut on there, ground it down a little bit. So that'll work now. It's all M10 by 1 inverted flare fitting now. I just extended the threads. So get that put back on. I'll do the other side, and then I can finish getting those brake lines hooked up back there, and let's get going. Okay, so I'm out here in the old graveyard, and I'm grabbing the some parts for the Odyssey. I'm grabbing the rear brake master cylinder, and probably I might take the pedal too. I haven't really decided yet, but I think I'm going to start with just the master cylinder, and then I'll probably build a pedal. And then I'm grabbing some steering linkage off of this old snowmobile that's parted out up here. And then that way I can get going on building the shift linkage and get the brakes hooked up and done. So I've got a few lawnmowers and such to pick from and whatever, so we'll get pulling these parts off, and I'll see you back inside. Okay, so on this piece of the shift linkage that I'm building, I'm using a snowmobile steering shaft, the tie rod portion of it. But what I'm going to do is, somebody had put they'd pressed a steel pipe sleeve over the top of it. Well, I have some steel pipe that's the same size. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to butt weld these together to get it the correct length I need. Okay, so I've got all the shift linkage hooked up. I got that one all made, put together. The only issue currently, so like I've got extra stuff that needs to trim, and I need to get the correct bolt for this, but other than that, it's all tight. Okay, so me not really thinking, I just welded those up, so I got those little braces on there, and I put a little brace here, so it doesn't really flex anymore, but it also was just stuck. I just had to turn the jack shaft back here a little bit, and then it kicked free and shifted perfectly fine. So that was just my bad, but it's never gonna flex again, I guess. So a little overkill, but it'll work. So there's that setup. Just some little tabs to linkage to the shift handle, which is 1.5 inch tubing. And then I took 3 pieces of 1/4 inch plate, welded those together to get a nice solid base. And then, so all the shift linkage is hooked up now. The throttle cable, I got all that built earlier, so you got the throttle cable on there now. Clutch cable is here. It's really stiff, but it's doable. You don't need to use it all the time anyways, so there's that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a hydraulic master cylinder for brakes. So those cables, I'll link that stuff in the description. What I had to do is I had to use the clutch and brake cable for the throttle cable as well, because that street bike had really large cable ends and stuff on it, so I couldn't use the throttle kit I bought because it's the smaller cable. So that's on there. The brake setup, so I did get those pieces built and welded together, ground down. I've got the first 2 lines bent and started. So there's one line, this other line's bent there, and I have them running to this T. And then what I'm going to do is I'll run my brake line out from there, probably down the side rail here, and then around up to the master, and then the master is going to be up here with the brake pedal. So I'm going to try to get the gas tank mounted, and then I can start working on getting everything wired in. I still do need to put the oil cooler back on somewhere. I need to mount that as well. So I'll get, that's kind of the next thing. I need to get that and the gas tank on, and then I can go from there. So thanks for watching so far. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you already haven't. Alrighty, so I just dumped a little bit of gas in it. I started messing with the wiring harness. I'll build a new harness for it, and get rid of all of this stuff. Because this is just the handlebars off the bike. I just took them apart, and that way I can leave all this stuff on the bike. And I'll build a wiring harness and put switches up on the wheel, or build a little switch panel or something on the side, or in the middle down there. But dumped a little gas in it. I'm gonna see if I can get it to fire up. I've just got it on a jump box. There's no muffler on it. The exhaust isn't very tight. I dumped a little bit of oil in it because it leaked a bunch out from the oil cooler being off. I still have the oil cooler just looped. I will end up building, or I'll build mounts for it, but I want to kind of make sure it runs and I don't have any of the chains on besides just the first drive chain here. So I'm gonna just see that it drives that stuff fine. I don't even have the bearing plates welded on all the way yet. They're just tacked on still, but what I'm gonna do, I might throw another tack or two on them just because I just want to make sure that like the clutch works and that the throttle works and make sure that it still runs. I haven't, this will be the first time I'll start it up in here and in this, and just make sure that it'll run with the stuff that I have hooked up and that I don't have to have anything else hooked up. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so after doing a little bit of looking around, I figured out I forgot to plug in the ignition box. So hopefully it should start now, I think. Okay guys, so it runs now that the ignition box is plugged in. Weird, right? Well, now I need to check oil while I shut it off. I want to make sure it's got enough oil in it, but it definitely blows fire. Sounds good. I think I don't know how I'm gonna run exhaust yet, so it'll be interesting to try to figure that out as well. But there is a test drive in the near future. This thing is going to be so much fun. I'm getting really excited for this. It's finally starting to come together to where it's getting really exciting. But I'll check oil, and then I want to start it up again and let it just idle, and I'll use the clutch and put it in gear and just I'm gonna just watch this first one spin, because I don't want to throw too many jack shafts into the equation yet. I want to try to get one of them kind of set up and working where I like it, and then I'll go on and do the next one, and then get the one back to the drive. So this thing's gonna be a blast. Okay, so what's going on is the clutch lever doesn't have enough pull on the cable to fully disengage the clutch. So the clutch drags and then it just kills it. Alright, so that's gonna wrap it up for this week's video. I'm gonna have to get a carb kit due to this carb leaking. I'll probably just do them all, clean them, put them back together. I'm gonna have to figure out something different for a clutch cable because this one does not pull far enough on the little lever I have it mounted on. So I'm gonna have to either do a pedal or something, or maybe put it on the shift lever. So just give me an idea, give me your comments and suggestions down below and see what, that way maybe give me some ideas. Thanks for watching this video. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you already haven't, and get those post notifications on so that way you get notified when I post a video. I'm gonna be trying to put a video out every Friday. It's hopefully the next video you see of the Odyssey, I'll be able to do a test drive and get this thing out and see what it's gonna do. I'm getting pretty excited. I'm glad it's able to run. In the next video I'm going to be trying to figure out brakes the rest of the way and get the clutch situation figured out, as well as redoing the wiring harness. I'm going to build the wiring harness to fit this Odyssey. And then I got to mount a battery box and get all the wiring kind of cleaned up and mounted that's over here, as well as rebuild those carbs. So hopefully you'll see all that stuff in the next video on this thing, and we'll get it ripping and see what it'll do.